These guys are going to be trash. Trash. More old parts disappearing. Yay. Okay, we are officially moving on to getting the shock tower deletes installed and the lowering springs and new shocks. So I just took out the lower shock bolt. Not much to it, just unbolt through the large hole at the bottom. I'm having a heck of a time getting the shock off itself, but we have to remove this whole tower anyway, so I'm just gonna remove that. And let the nuts go flying. These guys are going to be trash. I'm going to be keeping these guys out for now. I'm not sure if I need them with the fleece kit or not, but I'm pretty sure I will. So these are our new Firepunk coils. Should give us about a 2-inch drop in the front. You can see they're about a coil less than the stock. And this is an original coil, so it's a little worn out anyways. But those should be much better. And then we have some new fleece shock tower deletes to make room for our turbo. And then I'm going to go through and clean all this crap up because I don't like the way it looks. So dirty. We're getting to the point where there's not much left. Getting to the end of it. There's some mint in there. These are my first set of Apex ball joints. And I gotta say, these things are bad. You can just feel the weight. And then if you look at the shank size, absolutely massive. Pretty excited about these. I think these are gonna last a heck of a lot better than anything else on the market. They do have a lifetime warranty. Looking forward to using them. Real quick, I wanted to go over one of the big differences between the 3rd gen and the 4th gen steering, which is Y style versus T style. So this is your conventional 3rd gen steering. So this would be what they call a Y style steering. And you can see that the drag link goes all the way into the knuckle on the passenger side. So this causes a lot of excessive toe in and bump steer. It's one of the major problems with the inaccuracy and the loose feeling of the 3rd gen steering. So the best way to combat that is to move to a 4th gen style steering, which is the drag link drops into the tie rod itself. It does not pick up on the passenger side knuckle like the Y style. So this is significantly more accurate than this is. So obviously this is Apex best of the best, so this is going to be better regardless. But if you're wanting to upgrade your 3rd gen steering, you want to get rid of this Y style linkage and move to the T style linkage, whether you want to use a really quality part like Apex or just get stock 4th gen steering. What is going on, everybody? We are back in the shop again. I know you all thought I was lying when I said, hey, we're going to be working our ass off to get this truck done on time, but I ain't playing. We're going to be out here every night trying to get stuff done. So the mission for tonight, I'm going to try and get this rear end wrapped up. So I need to get my brakes done, maybe the hidden hitch done. So I'm going to see how far I can get tonight. But every night we're just going to be knocking some stuff off. So hopefully we can hit our Whitley Diesel Performance goal to get on the dyno. Let's do this. We're going to be working hard. Got to have some tunes.
He's got his headphones in so he can't hear me. Makes a lot of grunting sounds. He must be really listening to something. Been standing here forever.
Okay guys, I just had to show you this. So this entire pile of crap, which is, it's a pretty substantial size pile, all came from just the rear brakes. The majority of it came from the driver's side rear e-brake. Like the frame and the floor in this shop were clean prior to this. And all that came from just the rear brakes. All right, so here's the progress for tonight. Very, very happy with these brakes. Came out pretty freaking sexy. Threw a little bit of paint on my leaf springs. So we now have brand new rear brakes, brand new emergency brake assemblies. Everything in the rear is almost buttoned up. I still got to get my limited slip in the rear and take care of that hideous monstrosity and put something sexy in its place. But we'll still have to run the brake lines, but as far as the getting the brakes mounted, that's all done. It's another night in the shop. I told you we have a goal to meet. We are going to get this thing ready by June to be at Whitley. I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's going to happen. You got to will things into existence. I firmly believe that. So tonight what we're working on is getting a set of Reaper traction bars installed on this truck. So I got the brakes all done last night. Rear end's coming together really nice. Now it's time to get the traction bars on this thing and hopefully get it on its wheels and tires real soon. All right, guys, real quick, we're going to go over the components that are in the Reaper traction bar kit. I actually picked these up quite a while back on a Black Friday sale. They do one every year. It's a crazy good deal. It's like 25 to 50% off depending on which kit you get. These are ultra heavy duty bars, true 7/8 heims on each side. The rest of the pieces in the kit are, obviously we have our bars with the 7/8 heims. So let me just show you some of the cool stuff that Reaper does in their kit. So this is kind of an assembled assembly. That sounds redundant, but yeah, this is the fully put together assembly. One of the unique things that Reaper does is to create tight tolerances on this assembly. You have one that is slightly smaller than the other. So when I pulled these out, I actually thought that they screwed something up and I was gonna have to drill this hole out. So this one basically doesn't fit or barely fits, super tight. Then you have this one that fits over the collar exactly. So what they did is make it to where these are slightly offset to cant the assembly to shoot towards the frame rail. And this makes it to where you can't screw it up. And it also creates a nice tight tolerance on this shaft to make sure we have zero play. The other thing that's really cool is they have 7/8 heims. So these are big boys. There's pretty much no way I'm going to break these. I'm sure I have some friends in the four-wheeling community that could break these, but we're not going to break them on this truck. So the heims are, one is threaded right hand, one's threaded left hand. So when you're making your bar adjustment, so when you're setting your preload on your axle, you can set it really easily just by twisting the bar. So I put the assembly together. This will set your spacing left to right. So once you have this, you'll put it up on your axle shaft, or your axle tube, I should say. You'll measure what is center. So center for us ends up being almost exactly 1.5 inches from the shock tower plate. And you can see, it's kind of hard to get in camera, but it's slightly canted off to that frame rail. Once you have that, you'll just mark on the tube where you need to grind. So I'm gonna grind these areas so we can get a good quality weld all the way around. And then once we have this assembly done, we'll set up the bars in the other side, and I'll show you that next. We got the axle tube prepped. I hit this with acetone. We also have our bracket prepped, and the edges are cleaned up and the edges are beveled. You always want to bevel if you're going to be doing this thick of steel. Got our welder set up for a 1/4 inch plate. We're going to use the big boy Miller 220 on this one. And we're going to hit it. All right, so we set this on the ground. And then we found our mounting point. So once it was at ride height, we found the mounting point. Go ahead and tack those into place. Now we're gonna finish weld. So when we finish weld, we'll actually pull this bar out. We'll do our finish welding and then we're just about done. Okay guys, here's the finished product. Reaper traction bars installed. I gotta say they look pretty freaking badass. So we'll walk around here. They're nice 72-inch bars, so real long. So they're sitting almost level, which is cool. Turned out really good. Very happy with them. If you're gonna go into your axle as far as taking your knuckle off, take the time to replace your U-joints while you're there. The U-joints are a common failure point in these because no one ever maintains them. When we pulled these U-joints out, they were actually completely dry and broken. The roller bearings inside were actually busted. So it was an accident waiting to happen. So take the time. It's very inexpensive to get good quality U-joints, and you can put them in relatively quickly. So while you have everything apart, just pull your axle assembly out, replace your U-joints. All right, why would I spend the extra money for a higher quality ball joint? So Apex has a much bigger ball, much better steel, and they're greasable. So one of the problems you have with pretty much all Dodges, but especially Dodges that are either lifted or running extremely wide tires, you end up wearing ball joints out really quickly. And I plan on having the wheels on this truck set out pretty far, which is going to put a lot of stress on the ball joints. So I'm going to use a quality product so I don't have to do more maintenance. So ideally with this Apex, they do have a lifetime warranty, so I shouldn't have to be in here doing ball joints again. So we're running shock tower deletes. The reason why you run a shock tower delete is simply for space in the engine bay. So if you're not running a shock tower delete, you have a large tower that's in the way, and I'm going to have a turbo sitting right here. So I'm going to be taking up all this area. I mean, it looks wide open right now, but this entire area is going to be filled up with piping and turbos. So the easiest way to make some room is just pull your shock towers off so you're lower. It will have a slight impact on your suspension travel. You're not going to have as much droop as you normally would. The shocks I'm using are about the best case scenario to keep as much of that travel as you can. And they're short enough that when the suspension compresses all the way, it won't break the shock or blow it out. So we already did a reverse level and 2-inch drop shackles on the back of this truck. The reason I want to go low is, one, because I have tons of lifted trucks and I think it looks cool. However, when you're running this much horsepower, a lifted truck sucks to drive. It's super dangerous and super difficult to drive. So I prefer to keep this truck closer to the ground. It makes it a little easier. It also will help a ton with weight transfer if I'm doing anything like drag racing or sled pulling. So it's actually better to be a little lower to the ground. So I prefer in any performance vehicle to be lower. I know trucks look awesome when they're lifted, 26s, 40-inch tires, it's so cool. However, it is much safer when you're running the kind of horsepower we're going to be running in this truck to be a little closer to the ground. These are Firepunk's lowering coils for the 3rd gen Rams, and they're specifically made for this purpose. So they're 2 inches shorter, or it drops your ride height about 2 inches. They also have a different spring rate, so a lot of people will lower the front of their trucks just by cutting coils, and that's effective. It will definitely lower the front of your truck, but the problem is you actually make it to ride terrible. If you have an actual coil that is designed to be this length, it will compress at the right spring rate so it's nice and smooth instead of being jarring because you're already at the bottom of the coils where they're getting tighter together. We decided to go with a full power stop brake kit on this truck. So they have drilled and slotted rotors, which are great for heat dissipation. I'm going to be loading this truck a lot on the dyno, trying to build boost. Having that heat dissipation will help the rotors live a little bit longer. This is a high horsepower truck, high performance truck, and I want to have stopping power. I want to feel confident when I'm stopping. So we went with Power Stops calipers as well. They're brand new, they're powder coated, which makes them look pretty cool. We also went with their top of the line extreme truck pads. So these are going to last a lot longer. They bite a lot harder than normal pads. We're going with Reaper 72-inch traction bars, and this is like their ultra heavy duty version. So these have 7/8 inch bolts, 7/8 Heims. These are about as beefy as you can get, so they'll handle what we're going to be doing with this truck, which is drag racing, sled pulling, dyno pulls, smacking it like crazy on the street. We will be putting these traction bars to the test, but I wanted to go over why do traction bars matter and why do you see so many trucks with them. So what happens in a leaf sprung vehicle is the leaf spring tries to turn into an S. So as you start applying power, the tires are trying to rotate forward and it makes your pinion and your drive line rotate up. So as you start applying power, the tires rotating forward are actually going to start driving the pinion upwards as you're accelerating. So when that pinion goes up, your drive shaft goes up. So best case scenario, it causes excessive wear on your drive line over time. Worst case scenario, you start getting wheel hop. So if you ever see a guy trying to do a burnout or trying to launch for drag racing or potentially just pulling from a hard stop towing, and you see the vehicle trying to jump in the rear end, that's the leaf springs loading and unloading, because it's kind of turning your leaf spring into a big S. And when it unloads, it'll actually lift the tire off the ground, or the whole suspension will kind of unload. In any situation where you're drag racing, pulling really heavy, trying to do a sled pull, loading really hard, even on a dyno, you can cause this. Even just towing heavy, you should be running traction bars. What traction bars do is they make a mechanical link from the frame to your axle, and it prevents the axle from being able to rotate up. So all that power actually just gets planted down into the ground. So traction bars are absolutely a necessity, in my opinion, for every leaf sprung vehicle that's doing more than just daily driving.
Wes, no.
It's amazing how dirt is literally everywhere.